Um, It was brought up, somebody wanted to talk about different types of hollowing rigs and asked me to do it. I built some, and I wanted to talk about the reasoning behind hollowing devices, what certain capabilities of different types of systems, weak points, strong points of all the systems. So that's kind of what we're going to discuss tonight. And I brought one of my systems. We've got a Jameson style system.
JT.
He didn't have his JT.
You didn't tell me to bring it.
Hope system.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about it. Now, ultimately, you can hand hollow stuff, and I've done lots of hand hollowing, and you can be very successful with it, but there's two things. You have typically less control, and like with an arm brace style system, you run the risk of damaging yourself. So, having had some pretty good catches with arm brace systems and stuff, and most of the stuff I hollow is really hard because it involves resin and wood and hardwoods, and so a lot of systems work really well with wet wood. There's not a lot of systems work really well with dry wood. So what it all comes down to is rigidity. You want to get the most out of the boring bar that you can. And the key to the rigidity is the back brace. How much flex is in the part that supports the boring bar. At some point in time, you'll reach the limit of the bar. So you'll hear people, and I always get amused when people talk about, well, I've hollowed with 24 inches deep with a 3/4 bar. Well, I know they're lying. Because they're not look decent. I can go 24 inches deep with a 3/4 inch bar.
It took them 2 months.
Yeah, it took them 2 months. But it just doesn't happen that way. So there's limitations on how deep you can go. You know, the way I do most of my hollowing is I do it in sections. I will do, depending on the size of the piece, like if it's a small piece, I will do the upper section and the shoulder, and then I'll do the lower section. And I'll finish pretty much the upper section and then blend in the lower section with the upper section. So I like to do it in pieces. I also do all my hollowing supported. In other words, I'll have a ring and I like supporting my hollowing pieces. But I also turn with a fairly small foot, and that's the reason why. I like to establish my shape so I visualize it well and then support it and then hollow it. Okay, you take guys like Mike Jakovsky. He's got this giant tenon, and he just hollows it, and then he shapes it after he gets it done hollowing, essentially. So I'm not that way, and some people are. I just don't think that way. Let me see here. I will show you mine and how it goes together. Now this one, I have made some, and I'll be making them again sometime in the future. They're just
don't hold your breath.
Yeah, it's a pain in the neck for the amount of money I make off of them. So I could probably make more money babysitting, and that's not a good thing. So anyway,
For the baby.
yeah, yeah, either of it. My system is based off of linear bearings, and it's incredibly rigid. You can actually, even if you had a short bed lathe, here I'm going to move this back, even if you had a short bed lathe and you need to do a long piece, you can hang it off and still have that rigidity. I've used this on a lot of different lathes, and I'm not sure how thick this one is, so I'm not sure which screws to use right offhand. And this is all ad lib tonight, so I'll get short. Anyway, it assembles fairly easy. It's not something you want to be carrying around a lot because it does weigh a lot. But when you see the way this thing goes on and works, usually on a lathe like this, I'd have screwed these on already. But there we go. We've got at least one person with these in here. This one in here. I just used a couple of points for attachment. There we go. Now it doesn't have to fit perfectly straight on the way, just the way it works. Now, like I said, what got me to make this machine is I couldn't find anything that did exactly what I wanted it to do. So we'll talk about rigidity here in a second. These little eyelets are what I hang it on the wall with in my shop. I did leave one part of it at the house tonight by accident. There we go. This is my little bump stop. Keep it from coming off the end. Now, this is about my second or third iteration, but those are on linear bearings, completely rigid. As a matter of fact, you'll move the lathe before you move the axis. Now this is the center post. Now, this you can use on from about a 14-inch swing lathe up to over a 25-inch swing lathe. It'll work on anything. And you can use boring bars from 3/4-inch shank all the way up to or all the way down to a 3/8-inch shank. I did not bring the laser, which I probably should have. Laser attaches here. This happens to be a that's a 5/8. This is a 5/8 bar. You have adapters that will go in to bring them down to whatever size you want. Yep. Oh, that's my 3/4. I use 5/8 in there. Now, on mine also, I've got an H rest that I do make also, but you can use a standard steady rest. Now, the key on all of these is we were talking about rigidity. Now, with this, with the handle, you've got all your range of motion here. So it's just like if it was an elbow style tool. The problem you run into with a lot of the articulated rigs is you've got joints. So when you're applying pressure, no matter what you do, you're doing like this. So that ends up limiting the amount that you can go over the rest. So, see this, I can go, and it doesn't hurt anything. These are deep groove ball bearings in here, so you can sit here and really get the maximum depth out of the tool. Now all of these are brass tip set screws too. I've got a little handle that hangs out here. Now when you're using this, I always stand behind. It keeps you in a good safe position. You've got tons of rigidity, but you can still come in at really crazy angles. Avelina Samuel's got one of mine, and he just he doesn't use the handle. He always just like this. He's a pretty big guy too, so. But you can literally, and I've used it without the handle before, but you can see you've got all those ranges of motion, and you can pretty much go all the way around. Like I said, depending on your size lathe, this is a 16. You can it would almost go on a 12-inch by your swing. And you can go to a swing up to this size. That'd be a big lathe.
Gonna need a bigger bar.
Yeah. Now I've got some bigger bars. It's fully capable with a 1-inch bar going the full depth. This one will go 24 inches without any problem. On a 3/4-inch bar, 15 inches is not unheard of. A 1/2-inch bar, 5 or 6 inches is not unheard of. It also depends on what you're turning, quite frankly. You can turn stuff that is really hard, and that's going to affect how the bar performs. What I have found using this is I actually I can overwork the wood. In other words, I can push the wood to the limit before I push the bar or the machine to the limit.
I believe that.
Yeah, so, and I think I demoed this once before, and I hollowed. Avellino, in his demos, using my machine, hollowed a piece this big from start to finish in 8 minutes. So.
Does he gouge the whole thing out, or is he just core?
Oh, no. That was out with a 1/2-inch wall, and he carved the rest in 8 minutes. So you can move some material. When I did this, I said I wasn't making boring bars. There's lots of good boring bars out there. I do use a lot of Trent Bosch bars. This is one of his more, I think that's his steepest angle. This is a little 3/8 John Jordan bar. They're just mild steel, so you've got to take that into consideration. Believe it or not, though, on bars, mild steel absorbs vibration better than, say, something like a hardened, like a water-quenched drill rod. You'll get more vibration out of a water-quenched drill rod than you will get out of a piece of mild steel. So you have more chance of potential chatter for that type of device. Like I said, the whole point of this was just so I could safely bore my pieces, get them very thin. Most of my stuff is never much, 3/16 is about as thick as I turn anything. And some of my little pieces are only a 1/16. And I just wanted to be able to have that control. The laser is just standard laser, comes off over here. It's a really stable laser. I thought about putting a video camera on one just to play with it, but I use laser just fine. Yes, sir.
Is that a collet, or do you have a threaded insert to match the dimension of your bar?
No, it's just a reducing sleeve. Here, I'll pass around some of my reducing sleeves. And these were prototype reducing sleeves, so.
So it matches your bar.
Yeah, matches the difference in bars. So I set it up for a 3/4 inch shank. This is big enough that the shank isn't your limiting factor. So my bigger bars have 3/4 inch shanks, but they're over 1 inch. So you can move some material with it pretty quick. And I've got longer set screws there so that for the smaller bars, I can just pull those out. These are all made with, it's all made, all the steel is 1018 cold finish steel, cold roll. It's not a hot rolled product. The head here is made with what they call DOM 1018, and DOM stands for drawn over mandrel. So this is all seamless tubing that I machine on mills and lathes. The big problem with me making this rig is this part right here, what I call a cartridge. And there's just a lot of machine work in it. It's got deep groove, really thin wall ball bearings in it. And it's TIG welded, which I weld it. And there's just a lot of work in that part right there. I mean, probably, I'd say 7 hours worth of work in that part. And so that's where making any money with this gets difficult when you do that. It's the reason why I haven't made a whole bunch of them. I've sold a few, and they're not particularly cheap. What I'm looking at doing at some time is either having somebody make some of these parts for me on a CNC, or even me buying my own CNC and start producing them. You know, it just makes more sense. The other thing I wanted to do to lighten it up a little bit is this is 1/2 inch cold finish. I was going to go to 5/8 aluminum, and if I could get an extruded T-channel, that saves a lot of work. But that's all in the future.
Why
So-
extruded?
Because if it's got a T-channel, then I just put T-nuts and I can mount my bars without having to
Oh,
drill
you would
all those
mount the
holes.
channel on that. You wouldn't have the plate have the T-channel in it.
Right. I machined all the bars. But yeah, these are really slick, and there's no play in these bearings. And it's got 4 rows of ball bearings in them. So the problem also, you got to remember, in bars and bearings, there's almost $400 worth of just bars and bearings in this. No, that's the other thing that.
Does it get gummed up with something?
No, I just
Blow it off?
blow it off, and then I wipe it with a little, CRC or WD-40 every once in a while. You know, I don't. You can actually lube them, but they and this was a little dirty. I probably should have done it, but they're sealed. They've got seals on them, so it's got a seal bearing. But these are linear motion bearings. They use them in the machine tool industry a lot, and what they use them for is they'll use them for moving parts on CNC equipment. So in other words, they can shift a table one direction or another and continue to machine on them. So they're very stable,
Robust.
and robust, yeah, for that matter. But you have to build them. First one I built, this is a 30-inch X-axis. This is Z. I guess this would be your Y. So, but that's your 5th axis. So you get all the same range of motion as you do with an articulated rig. And I had a guy that bought one of these from me and he bought it from me. He had used the Cobra, and he liked mine better than the Cobra. So, but you can't get the Cobras either. So, it's mine's kind of vaporware-ish also. So, they're hard to get out of me.
Right.
Any questions on this or how it works or?
How much you sell for?
I was selling for like $1,300, and they'll probably stay that even if I can. The problem is I got to make enough money that I want to make them. And at $1,300, I don't make enough to really want to make them. But I think that is what it ends up
That's
being.
why it doesn't have a storeroom.
Yeah.
Full of them, right?
Yeah. I've got enough parts right now for about 10 or 11 of them at the shop. But you buy and you try to get them in as much bulk as possible. But you buy enough bars and bearings in 100 at a time, you got to have a little bit of cash on hand.
Capital.
Yeah. So like I said, they work really well, but it's just one of those things. I mean, I only have one of them that I use, so. But like I said, you can use the full length of almost any bed, and that's one of the things that's really cool. So say you have like a Vic Mark VL300, which they only make in a short bed anymore, or you had a 3520, but you still wanted to do a deep piece. You can literally, and I don't have this one set up. I got a big old robust that I can pretty much do whatever I want to on, just because it's.
It's hitting the supports.
Yeah, I knew that would. But you see, I can. That one. Yeah, I'm letting it. See, you can come out like this on this and tighten that down, and you still have the rigidity in that piece to hollow with it. So you can hang it off of the back of the device and do whatever you need to do. So it's still pretty dang versatile as far as that goes.
So your axis there, that's where it dampens. I know.
Yeah, but you got to remember what it's doing when you're hollowing is it's pulling up on this. Okay, well that's an 1.5 bar, and when it's pulling up more than it's pushing over, so you just get no flex out of it.
I just know on the bigger rigs with they make the longer handles because that oscillation wave, they want to get it out as far as possible.
Yeah, and you're not going to get that with this. You got to remember that you're supported at the same point for the entire distance of the rig.
You know if there's any feedback back through the bed to the head?
Oh, I'm sure there is. You're going to get vibration no matter what. I mean, that's the nature of metal. It vibrates. Cast iron does tend to dampen vibration, but in a steel bed lathe, you still get some vibration. You don't really notice it, though, causing any problems. But like I said, the weak part of all systems is how it supports the back of the bar. So how much flex you get back here equates to how much flex you get up here on that tip. And so if you can limit that amount of flex, you're in way better shape.
I have used a 1-inch bar, turned down the 10 to 3/4, and it works just as well as one of those captured bar systems.
Yep.
And I've used the Vic Mark, I've used the JT articulated, and of course I have yours. And there is no vibration. It makes precise cuts possible.
Right.
The other systems,
Not so
there's
much.
just too much movement, too much gravity.
And and it's probably overkill for most things, but overkill is not always a bad thing. It's just one of those things that it makes life easier. So.
And one thing I like really is with the JT tool, I was always forgetting to strap down the cutter and the bar.
Right.
When I pull it out of the piece to get the sawdust out.
Right.
And the damn thing moves around like a snake.
Right.
And I have.
Yeah, this one you can just take over here and you just swing it out of the way and clean. What I like about it, and I never thought about it at first, when I first did it, you have this in the way. I can actually, like when I'm really cutting on something, I will use my hip on it to push the bar. So if I'm really hogging, I will literally just take and work my hip into the bearing way. Plus, it keeps my head away from the spinning piece. Your head by that spinning piece is when you get your head knocked off. So I've not sent anything off the lathe with this one, but you know, it can happen, so.
Did you say you built a tool rest? Does it ride on the rail?
No, the tool rest now, this is where, this is in my head for my next one, is I'm gonna build the tool rest into the base.
That's what I was thinking, if it would sit right at the head of the rail.
Yeah, that's my next variation. I just gotta go get some material.
I always have to leave room for the banjo, and sometimes.
Well, mine is an 8-shaped rest. It's a large bar, and it weighs like 20 pounds. But when you put it on there, you can adjust either side. This will tell you how out of level your tool rest is, because this moves, and it's within a thousandths or so from side to side. So you finally figure out how screwed up they've built your tool rest pretty quick.
Or you've worn it down.
Or you've worn it down. So, but what's nice about it is I can adjust it from side to side and get it hitting even on either side, and then I can go from there. And I always put my tool rest on the back side underneath, and like when I want to, and I don't want to take it out of my support, I can work on the foot after I get done hollowing. So I don't have to move anything off the lathe, which is always nice. So, you know, it's about process is what it boils down to. So,
Next month you bring one out for the drawing?
oh, one of these days, if I sell a couple of hundred of them, I might do it.
The JT boring bars are really nice and rigid.
Yes, they are.
I like those a lot.
And I've got the big JT, which he made the first 1 inch for me because I asked him to. And
that's a little over an inch on the die.
yes, it is, and it's real stiff. I got a bigger one than that.
What are those things you put in there?
Oh, those are to keep me from knocking the bearings out
Oh, okay.
when I slide it in. I have knocked bearings out, and you can see I used the top of the sock to keep it in place. I was going to come up with a slicker method than that, but I haven't got to the slick method yet. Yeah, low tech, but it works. But yeah, those. Here, I'll pass this around, and I'll just pull this out. Just don't.
Don't turn it
Tip it
upside.
over.
Well, no, they don't fall out that easy, but if you're sliding it on, you can knock them out. So I keep that in, and you'll see there's 4 rows of bearings, and they go around in a semicircle. And you can also see how heavy that is. You don't want to drop it on your toe, I'll put it that way.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, there's nothing wrong with like the Jameson style systems. Actually, they're pretty dang rigid. The ones that are the least rigid are the articulating systems, quite frankly. But the articulating systems give you that mobility, you know, where a conventional backrest system does not. You know, so this is kind of the best of both worlds. You've got the mobility of an articulating system with rigidity, or actually more rigidity than a system with a large backrest or a big bar.
Could you explain how you have your lasers mounted on that rig?
Well, my laser just goes on that. It's got a post, and it's all
Vertical post.
It's hard to imagine. I should have brought it.
Is it then on like a curved?
No, it's on a straight bar, and it's on a T, and it's got a
Oh, okay.
couple of clamps on it.
All right.
It's very rigid, is it not?
Very low vibration.
Yeah. And mine's got an adjustable optic on it, so you can adjust the size of the point. So. Get these off of here real quick. But yeah, one of these days, like I said, I've just been, the last couple of years, my normal day business has been so good that this side business is not
Needed.
needed.
As it needed to be worked.
It has not needed to be worked.
You better get on the wait list.
There it is. You know, that's one thing, when I told people I'd never take money up front from anybody. I said, if I can make you one, I will. I've never been one to do that, but, because I don't want to take money from anybody on something that I'm not sure when I'm going to be able to get it done. I can do one, if I could do 2 or 3 a day production with, you know, the right equipment, I would do it. But I can't do that right now.
Damn work.
Yeah. In cutting those bars, the company that I get the bearing blocks through, they cut the bars and they're sort of okay. They're not. I tell them a specific length, and they're sort of close.
Sorta, kinda.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be perfect.
Over or sort of close under?
Well, the over is a bigger problem than the under.
All right, you saw the Mercedes, now we're gonna look at a Yugo.
Don't forget your bar.
The Yugos are all in the tragedy, aren't they?
Yeah. If you want to look at a bar too, that's a big 3/4 inch bar there.
Honking, I think is the word.
This is a homemade Jameson. Saw the picture, talked to my brother, bought some beer, and
What kind of big?
I think it was Coors Light, that's what he drinks. So anyway, what you have, this piece of steel plate came from Tennessee at my brother-in-law's shop. I said, Don, what are you gonna do with that? Nothing. I said, good, it's coming home with me. So anyway, I traveled from Tennessee back to San Antonio. And this is the backrest.
How did you make this?
And essentially
That's Bosch.
made like this. This coupler is 3/4 inch high pressure gas tubing. And my brother did all the welding. This is just some 3/4 inch cold roll steel that he cut and welded. It's not very pretty, but it works. Build the backrest. This is to arrest the torque. And you bolt that down. And then I had a friend of mine drill this and put set screws and then machine this tool holder. And it just has, it's a 3/16 inch high-speed steel with a piece that came from a hand boring bar that I used. And this you put in the back to keep it from slipping out, because if it slips out, it's bad. I have turned a lot of narrow hollow forms, and when you're getting back around this way, this really is a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
Because you have to slide this over here and continuously adjust. But it works. And I wouldn't go more than about 10 inches with this, because then it starts vibrating. And it is easy. You don't have to worry about the torque of it. And you just, depending upon how patient you are, sometimes I'm not so patient and I want to get the wood out fast. Anyway, this is it. You can build it yourself, or you can, I think Packard Tool Works sells it.
$350, something
Yeah.
like that. With laser, I think.
I don't know, but I don't have a laser. I just,
Yeah.
I have calipers, and I say that's good enough.
How much beer do you charge?
Selling the prototype.
I don't have the welding machine. So anyway, this is it.
Say $1,300, that way you'll take it and buy one of these.
So, any questions? If you have somebody that has a welder and you got a cut off angle grinder and cut off wheels, you can make one yourself.
Yep. Yeah, you can, even if you got a torch, you can bend it, if you can bend
Yeah.
the steel, if you got
Yeah.
a torch.
So anyway, and then
Burn it.
really low-tech solution is freehand hollowing. This was the first one I bought. It was a company called Behemoth. I don't think they're in business anymore. The cutter and this part here came with this system. Originally, it had a collar with a screw through it to hold as a torque arrestor. After a very short period of time, the threads galled and it didn't work anymore, so vice grips. That vase that I brought tonight, it was hand hollowed with
Yeah.
this. A lot of times, because I have a Powermatic, and instead of hollowing, bending over,
Right.
I slide the headstock down here, and so you're hollowing off the end. It makes it a lot easier. So,
Yeah, when you're hand hollowing, a lot of guys that do a lot of just hand hollowing, they'll have a short bed lathe because they hollow off the end,
yeah.
and it does. Just
And-
like the guys do on board.
And if you have to cut back this way, you can walk. I mean, turn the tool rest completely around, and go that way. Oh, my handle's coming off. Anyway, and then smaller things. These are McNaughton hollowers.
And McNaughton, if you've never used a McNaughton bar, I think they give the best finish of any of them.
They're great, except, I mean, you can't go very deep.
Nope.
Then they start vibrating. And these are the bins that you have. They're a pain in the butt to sharpen, but they work. The only problem is that when you use it freehand without torque arrest, you have to have it back here.
Right.
If you have it here, it's going down. So that's that. And then for in-grain hollowing, we have a termite.
There, that works good.
It works well once you learn how to use it.
Yeah, that's a good tool.
There is a bit of a learning curve in how you present it, but it will hog wood out quickly.
Not good on green though.
No, because it clogs up the hole. And then you're sitting there trying to find something to push it out with.
What's the guy from he's a Quebecer.
Martel.
Andre Martel makes a hook tool that is fabulous on wet wood.
Yeah.
And Andre's, I love his calipers. I've got every set of calipers he makes, but he's a neat guy
Yeah.
for a French Canadian. But he's a good guy. But his hook tool, man, you can move some wood fast.
Yeah, but the thing about hollowing, you gotta be patient.
Yeah.
And don't take that famous last cut before
Yeah.
you go.
The last cut will finish you off most of the time.
Fadi, you're up.
Blessed hollow thing, you gotta blow the chips out.
Yeah.
So I grabbed my bag and brought it in. I don't have a shop, so I have everything mobile.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Come around here, I'll show you places to live.
So when I was looking for a hollowing system, I wanted something small because I have a very small lathe. And one of the recommendations was to get the Hope system. And it's about, setting up is easy, it's not that difficult. Let's usually go in here. Yeah, go in. So you can set it up however you like. Turning it wide, you have to just adjust the bottom screw. Anyway, I'm not gonna just hook up the whole thing. And what I like about it is that I can just put it away just over the fridge in my garage, or my freezer in the garage, and out of the way. And like you said, it does have a articulating arm, and the problem is, maybe I should just tighten it up. That's okay.
Here, I'll hold this in.
Now, just, there's a small screw to
Oh, to
adjust
loosen it, yeah.
to loosen it. It's hard to get to.
Yeah, I'll keep it from hitting you in the head.
Promises, promises.
Yeah, it's good. So basically, you tighten it up and you can adjust the height for it. As they said, the problem is when you're going away, this will flex on you. Let me just go ahead and fix it up really quick.
Yeah, I'm gonna hold this
That's
for
just
you.
the inside screw that's, let me just take that.
Okay. I'll hold this for you. That's beautiful.
It's,
Yeah,
it's heavy.
yeah, it's all cold finish too. With bronze bitchins.
Hopefully that's enough.
Actually, I had a monster, and he uses these little thrust washer bearings, and they worked okay. But man, you can get that baby vibrating quick. So, oh, I'll let you.
Just,
Who's selling this in? Who's selling this one?
not in the US.
It's not in the U.S., so you had to order it.
I ordered it online. It was, I got it in 3 days.
3 days.
And you can adjust
The collar.
the collar for the height. This will get tightened, I'm just not turning it too
It's the
much.
same manufacturer of the threading machine that I demoed.
Right.
Oh, okay.
So, next piece.
Yeah, they're laser screws on
Yeah,
there.
so you can put in the bar and use similar Trent Bosch bars. You
Yeah.
can put them in and you tighten the screws on it. That is like 12 inches, so it's not high enough. And you'll put in the bar for the laser system. Now, if you guys want me, I can tighten it up brief. I'm just not tightening it up too much.
Yeah.
Can we just set it up? That's not that one.
So you're working in your garage or you're working in your kitchen?
Driveway.
Driveway.
I actually roll everything out, turn, then come back in, roll everything back inside. Don't get the hollowing system. That's
You lose so much time.
the laser. Now, some of the problems you could have with this system is that vibration. I keep this too close to the body, so I'm always turning this, just keeping it that way. That way, it absorbs all the vibration. If you go a little bit far, this elbow is the weakest point, and it will pull up on you. So other than that, I haven't had a problem with it. I hollowed 11-inch deep and did not have a problem. Laser, I'm not a big fan of this setup because sometimes if you get vibration, this thing will move.
Yeah.
You know, it's so I'm always checking it, taking it out, checking it out, adjusting it, put it back in. But overall, for the price, it does what it needs to do, and I'm happy with it.
How much were they selling them for?
I got the Trent Bosch tool. I can't remember. I think like $400
Okay.
with the laser.
Yeah, that's not bad.
And he has a camera for I think for like $200.
Yeah. Yeah, cameras are pretty easy. If you ever want to adapt something to camera, there's so many micro cameras on the market. It isn't hard. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
I got one that I want to use.
But
Security.
the gist of it, there's a nut in the bottom. You just have to adjust to get the right fit on it. And once you lock it, it's stable. And you put the collar for the height of your middle of your spindle, and it's there. From that point, you just drop it in. It works fine. It takes me a couple of minutes to set up, and I'm ready to go. However, I am switching to hand hollowing. I'm just liked hand hollowing. Took a class with David Ellsworth last month, and I used his hollowing tools, and I just loved them. So I'm going to be ordering them and trying that. That's the system.
Just be careful. They're wonderful until you get a bad catch.
Well, I had to catch.
Yeah.
I had to catch, and the whole thing was spinning in my hand. And David was standing there looking at me. I was like, good. I'll turn it off and just pick it up.
Good catch?
I like hand hollowing. It's just one of those things that, especially, and I think it's more too, when you're in a scenario like some of my acorn cat pieces, I'll have 70 hours in the piece before I even start hollowing. So when you blow up a piece that you've got 70 hours in,
Yeah.
it hurts.
Well, for me, I hollow for fun.
Yeah.
It's a hobby.
Yeah.
So I want to enjoy doing it, and the fact that some people get CNC machine and just draw things or carve things and so happy with it. I don't enjoy that.
Right.
I want to do something that I'm putting effort in.
Yeah.
Can
And I
we get
wa-
an octopus and train it, because octopus has so many arms. You want to get
No.
twisted, you can't use the other one.
Yeah, I mean, the
So
thing
a
is,
carbide
it's
tip on
heavy.
each one is-
I can pull this on around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I can put it in a small box, put it away. You just have to be able to carry it, and it's hard for me to put it over a fridge. It just that's how heavy it is with the rest of it.
So at the small piece articulating arm, that's where it vibrates a lot?
When you go deep, because that big one over there, I was thinking I was going about 10 inches deep with 3/4.
No.
If you push the arm far away, it will start pulling.
Yeah.
So you either hold it up, that way there's not much pull, or you bring this one over around and keep it next to the body. And then it's okay. Just don't take too big of a cut.
Yeah.
And it's easy to take a big cut with these things because you don't know how hard it is really tugging on it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, but I loved David's Halloween system. One of the things he had us do is do open bowl with his Halloween tools.
Yep.
And I was going 8 inches just by hand, and it was cutting fine. And if anyone wants to borrow it one day, just let me know. I mean, I only turn on weekends.
All right. That wraps up the program.